just give you a little background and let's just dive right into Sarah, because I want to give her as much time as possible. So for you, those of you that are just joining us, most of the connections that are coming to these events are some of my circle of influence connections, as well as those that we've had a chance to reach out with our LinkedIn strategy to build relationships with those of you through LinkedIn. And you know, Sarah, it's funny, right? When you talk about sales faux pas are always the fun topic of conversation. And we had a sales faux pas with our LinkedIn outreach strategy yesterday, where we called everybody Jesse instead of by their first name. And I was like, oh man, here we go.
We're going to talk about laughing and fun today. So that's awesome. They always happen.
It was brilliant, right? They do. They always happen. They're going to happen. Had a great conversation as well yesterday with, let's see, where's Dan? Dan was here a minute ago. Had a great conversation with Dan the other day about sales and sales strategies, sales tactics. It was fun to have a conversation. But let me introduce to you the amazing Sarah Cortez. So Sarah has been in sales and sales management for 20 plus years. I think she said 20 years, but it's probably plus, right, Sarah?
Yeah, 20 plus a few months.
Plus a few months. 3 years ago, she started a job at Alliance Title Escrow in the Boise Valley area, where she found her sales formula. They worked for really any industry, which is so cool, right? Because when you find systems and strategies that work effectively, that can be replicated across the industry, you know you have a formula. You know you have something that will work. And I've been in the sales world for probably 25 plus years. And I just love it. And I love it more, not because of the word sales, but because of the opportunity we have to make authentic connections, create powerful relationships, and help people drive their business forward more effectively. And that's really what we do here at RizeX. It's an organization that helps people create meaningful impact on people, organizations, and communities all across the world. So we're excited and grateful that you're here. Make sure you have a piece of paper and a pen out so you can take some notes as Sarah is going through this. She developed, when she first told me this, I was a little caught off guard, and I think that's why she likes this, right? She developed the F word platform to help salespeople find their formula for success and have just a lot of fun along the way. You know, if selling isn't fun, then you're doing it wrong, because you're not building the right types of relationships with the people that can create the most amount of fun and impact in your life. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to turn the time over, the camera over, the slide deck over to the amazing Sarah Cortez. Sarah, we are so blessed to have you. Let's rock and roll.
Thank you so much. So now I'm going to share my screen and we are going to get started. And today we are going to figure out why the F word makes all the difference. And we're going to talk about finding our formula and fudging through. And so I want to, let's see here, boom. Okay, I want to just introduce you. He told you a little bit. I love the fact that I'm still in sales and I'm also doing sales training, because I feel like so many times people get a little detached from the process. And so I am in this right next to you. I'm going through the motions with you. And that's why we say we're fudging through together. So I am in business development. I do sales, but I also created this platform to help salespeople like myself figure out how to make their desired annual income year in, year out, and everything like that. So now I like to do a little poll question. And I like to ask, you know, out of all of you, who owns their business or they're freelancers and they're building their own business? And I'm going to try to figure out where the chat is on this as well. So in the chat box, go ahead and just tell me you own your business. Here we go, chats. And then who is managing a sales team? Okay, I see some owners out there. Awesome. I see Power at Local Media. Okay, sales, Mitch. Okay, good. Audrey. Okay, owner. Awesome. Okay, managing a sales team. Who's managing their sales team? And I'm going to kind of keep track of who's in the chat box with this. And then you're in sales. You're in the most important role, our support and admin professionals. Just going to tell me who you are, and that way I can make sure that I don't leave anyone out as we're going through this presentation. All right, managing a team, Rick, awesome. I used to do that too, and now I get to just be a salesperson. So here's what comes to mind. And, I know you've probably seen this before, but here's what comes to mind when the word sales comes up. Our friends think we're out, drinking and partying. My brother would say, you go into another networking event and calling it work. Well, yeah, because it is work. Thank God our parents think we're the professionals we are. Sometimes we see the sleazy used car sales guy as what people see us as. Our customers may think we're sitting back counting the dollar bills, y'all. What we think we're doing is herding those cats, but what we're really doing, you guys, is we're trying to figure out how we're going to make our numbers month in and month out. Can you relate? Awesome. I'm here to tell you we're actually mathematicians, and salespeople are not generally good at math, but it all comes down to the numbers. Sales comes down to the numbers, and when you're not good at math, we've got to figure out a way that we can make our numbers. And so we're going to go back to Sales 101. Okay, I'm going to take you back, but I guarantee that you're going to take away a few notes that, today that will help you just a little bit in moving forward in your sales career, even when we go back to Sales 101. I have developed a website, and you'll get this at the end, that helps you figure out your formula. For those of us who are not good at math, necessarily me, I just put this so that you can enter your own numbers here. And you're going to want to have a few numbers on the top of your head as we plan for 2022. So your desired annual income for 2022, you're going to enter at the top of that website in that little box with the $sign. You're going to need to know your average commission rate. And so let's say you have different commission rates for different types of things you sell. Take all of those, divide it by the different amounts of commission rates, and put that in the box there, your average commission rate. That's going to spit out for you how much you need to sell of your product or service this year. Then you're going to figure out your average sale. And that's going to be a number that you need in your formula as well. So your average sale is take all of the sales that you made, this past year, divide it by the amount of clients you had, and that gives you your average sale. And then once you enter that, that's going to spit out the clients you have to close this month and this week in order to get, and Adam says he's a mathematician too, that's nice. You're going to figure out how many clients you have to close this month and this week in order to make your desired annual income. Okay, so this is a fun exercise. And now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to drop an F-bomb right here. What? The F word is formula. Okay, and if I told you today that you were going to come and you're going to go to a sales presentation about your formula, you'd probably not really want to be here. But if I tell you the F word makes all the difference, maybe you'd come. And so that's how I got here today. The F word makes all the difference, and I'm going to drop a few F-bombs on you. The first one is formula. And your formula consists of another F word, 4 numbers. The first one is the number of active sales opportunities you're working each month. If you don't know that, that's okay. We start today. Today's December 1st. And we count the number of active sales opportunities that we're working through the month of December, because then we're going to have the numbers that we need to go into January so that we know what we're going to need to do in order to make our average or our desired annual income. So how I classify an active sales opportunity is someone that's in my funnel that I've reached out to and they've reached back out to me. And so there's an open dialogue and an active sales opportunity. It's not all of the people that I've sent out reach outs to that haven't reached back out to me, because that's not active. They're not actively in my funnel. So that's how I determine an active sales opportunity. And I think that that's a pretty good idea for you guys too. So we already talked about this. Your average deal value is the number 2 number that you need to know. Your closing ratio. And so if you don't know that, that's okay too. Awesome, we're in December and we can start today. All of the people that we ask us to do business with this month, figure out how many of those say yes by the end of the month, and that is your closing ratio. Typically, salespeople are between 20 and 30%. So if we're going to calculate our numbers, let's say 20% is our closing ratio if we don't have that already figured out. So 20%. And then the length of sales cycle. This is from the day one that someone becomes an active sales opportunity in your funnel till the day that they close. Now, I've had people in my sales funnel that, you know, I activated, and 2 years later they said yes. And so that really screws up my length of sales cycle. But then I've also had someone that I meet on day one, they say yes, and we go forward. And so our length of sales cycle is going to vary. If you don't know what that is, use 90 days as just an example number, and then try to figure out what really is my length of sales cycle. But when you know those 4 numbers, you know the formula that you need in order to accomplish your annual income. And then there's, in my website, at the bottom of the website, there's a place for you to enter those numbers. Okay, it's the sales velocity calculator. This is a tried and true old school number. But when you enter your numbers in there, it's going to tell you if your calculated sales per month are going to make your desired annual income for the year. And then you can play around with that. We will play around with that here in just a second. I'll stop sharing this screen, and I will share a screen that will help you see what that looks like for you. So now I'm going to share another screen here, and we're going to play around with this. And I'm just going to use an example of $100,000. Let's say you want to make $100,000 this next year, and your average commission rate is 15%. So that means you're going to have to sell $660,000. Let's just make that 7, because that's 666. So let's say 700,000, and you'll be a little bit closer to what you want to do. Let's say that your average sale is $9,000. So that means this month you're going to have to close 7 clients. Let's say if you close 2 per week, you're going to be there. If you close 1 this week and 2 next week and then 2 the next week, you should be able to get there. Okay, so 6 to 7 clients a month, depending on what that average sale is. And then you come down here, and let's say that you're working on 40 people, and your average deal value, we said, was $9,000. And let's say our closing ratio is that 20%, which that would make it, a little conservative. And then let's say we have a 60-day sales cycle. So we're going to sell $36,000 this month. Is that going to get us to our $666,000? Let's see. No. So then what we want to do is say, okay, what if I did 50 people? And what if I asked them for $10,000 instead? Then we're going to get there. So this is a fun little form that you can play around with. Like I said, at the end, I will send out a way for you to download this for free. And you can play around with your personal numbers, okay? And it's just kind of fun. I did that for those of you who are not like Adam, the mathematician. You're more like me, where maybe we don't do math as well as we'd like to, okay? So now we'll go back to the PowerPoint slideshow and we'll move on. Okay, boom. All right. Are you making your revenue goals in 2021? Are we making those revenue goals this year? In the chat, let me know. Business is down, I'm meeting my goals, or I'm exceeding my goals. And I am going to assume with this group that most of you are going to be exceeding your goals because you're in a group like this. But if business is down and I see that, a couple are, then this is going to be, very important for you moving forward. Okay. Is kind of knowing where your numbers are and what you can do to change those numbers. Okay. So we've got meeting goals, business is down. Good. Now I always like to, okay, business is down. All right. Usually meeting goals. What I like to do is I like to have my personal goal. The company gives me a goal, and those are set to make the company's budget, right? And then I like to set my personal goal a little bit higher. And then I like to set a stretch goal. So I'll tell you where I'm at. I am short of my stretch goal. I made my personal goal that I made at the beginning of the year, but I have a stretch goal that I really wanted to get to by the end of this month. And I'm a little short. So I'm busting my butt, just like you probably all are as well, to get to my stretch goal. So thanks for sharing where you're at. And now, yes, urgency. Urgency is going to be something that we all have to operate with. And we also have to bring our targets to our urgency level in order to get where we want to be. In order for me to get to my goal by the end of the month, my stretch goal, I've got the urgency, but I'm going to have to bring people to my level of urgency. And so we're working our formula with urgency. And now is where we're going to have some fun. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about my brother. My brother is also a salesperson, and he spent 8 years in medical device sales. And so when we're looking at who we're trying to call and add to our active sales opportunities, they might probably be easier than trying to call a spine surgeon who's in surgery 12 hours a day. But that was his job. And so, you have to try different things in order to bring them to your urgency level. So my brother was getting some really good progress with spine surgeons in San Diego. And he was like, okay, I've got several of these people, and now I'm going for number one. I'm going to go for the number one spine surgeon in San Diego. And of course, he was not answering my brother's calls. My brother was trying all kinds of different things. So finally, he got him on the phone and he said, okay, look, I've got a lot of your peers that are using my products, and I would like to have you use my products. I want you to do business with me as well, just like your peers. And the guy's like, okay, Michael, stop. I'm not listening to you. If you can bring me papers from my peers that say that they like your products, then I might try it. And so my brother's like, yes, like this is a sales dream, right? Somebody tells you what they want. And in order to do business with you, they say, this is what I need. And then you go out and you find what they need and you deliver it to them. And then you guys should be doing business, right? My brother found 7 papers from his peers that said that they loved using his stuff. And so my brother was like, this is perfect. And he sent them to this spine surgeon, and crickets. Okay. My brother's urgency level was higher. The spine surgeon's urgency level was not there at all. So trying to get back in touch with him, 3 weeks goes by, and finally he's like, okay. Finally he got in touch with him and he said, here's the deal. I sent you those papers. Did you get a chance to read them? And the guy's like, no, I do not have time for that. And my brother just pulls off and he's like, I have nothing to lose. He said, do you go to the bathroom every day? Do you take a dump every day? And the guy's like, where are you going with this? That was not what he was expecting. Michael's bringing him to his urgency level. And he's like, yeah, where are you going with this? And he's like, all right, well, there's 7 papers, 7 dumps. I'll call you back in 7 days. Click. My brother hung up on him. And the guy's like, whoa, what just happened? So anyway, my brother took a chance and he's trying to get this guy to his urgency level. Guess what happened? 3 days later, and I'm not joking about this, 3 days later, the guy calls my brother back and he said, hey, Michael, it took me 2 dumps. Let's do some business. Okay. So I'm not telling you to ask your clients if they take a dump every day, but I am saying that we need to be different when it comes to trying to bring our clients, our targets to our urgency level. We have to find ways that are different from the rest. We're not just checking in. We're not just, all of these things. And so that's what my brother did. Okay. Okay. So we're going to work our formula with urgency and discipline. Okay. Because this is not fun work to call someone, to reach out to them, to try all of our different ways of getting in touch with them, only to hear crickets. So we're going to have to work this with discipline. And for me, I have developed what I call the triple effect. Okay. So I encourage people, and this is what I've been using since 2017. I developed this for myself, and it has really, really transformed my mindset. And so I get up 15 minutes earlier than I'm supposed to, and I do these 15 things. Everybody is, talking about gratitude in the last few years. And I always have believed that gratitude, focusing on gratitude first thing in the morning, is going to get you where you need to be. So I put that in there. I do my 5 things I'm grateful for that day. Then I do the 5 things I have to do today. And no, taking Grace to ski practice doesn't make that list, even though I do have to do that. These are 5 things that I want to accomplish by the end of the day. And then the kicker, okay? 5 things you love about yourself. 5 things you love about yourself. And I heard this analogy yesterday. It's called fly. And I'm a pilot, so I love fly, F-L-Y. First, love yourself and see what happens. And in the beginning, when I was trying to figure out 5 things I love about myself every day, I was like, oh, I love my eyes, I love my hair. And those would end up on the list every day. But then I really got into what this means. Okay, I love my enthusiasm. I love that I'm funny. I love that I make people feel comfortable to tell me exactly what it is that they need. And so, you might start out with some pretty shallow things, but then when you really get into what you love about yourself, it is only going to make those things better and better each day. So try it. The triple effect, hashtag it. I try it every day, and it has totally transformed the way that I put myself out there, because when we're working our formula with discipline, we are going to get told no, we're going to have people leave us from business. And if we're turning ourselves out in a way that we love ourselves every single day, it's going to make a difference. And it has for me. So now we're going to talk about another way that discipline has entered my life. And you guys are probably like, wow, this is an interesting presentation. I've never seen urinals on a presentation about sales. Okay, so this is a story about cold calling. And in the chat box, I want you to tell me, I love cold calling or I hate cold calling, okay? Personally, I love cold calling. I'm weird, okay? Love it. Awesome. Ryan, I knew we were, okay. Julie, I get you. I knew, Ryan, you and I really see eye to eye. Awesome. Mike loves it too. Oh, Rick, awesome. Okay, so you guys, I love cold calling. I think of it as a game. Well, this was one of the most fun games that I've ever played to this date. And this was a guy that, when I was working at the Chamber of Commerce, I worked there for 7 years, and I sold memberships, sponsorships, advertising, large contributions to the Chamber. And there was this business, and I knew that they would benefit from Chamber membership. And I was trying to get with the decision maker. Now, they're a company here in Boise, and they don't do most of their business in Boise or even Idaho, okay? And so for me to get them to join the Chamber, it was kind of a different pitch. But we do a lot of tax, we do a lot of advocacy as it goes for tax. And so it makes Idaho a business-friendly state. And that's why doing business here in Idaho is so lucrative for them, because they're able to have the tax laws that we have here in Idaho. And so, that was one of my angles that I was trying to get at, but this guy would never answer my calls. And I tried everything. He was on the board with, he was on boards with people that were on our board. And so I would use that. Oh, hey, Scott Madison's on your board over there. He's on our board too. I bet you'd find the value. Give me a call back, like all of these different ways that I was reaching out to him. And finally I realized, he's on the same floor as my brother. And when my brother was in spine, and they're in the same building on the same floor, and they share a bathroom. I was like, Michael, if you see this guy in the bathroom, you tell him to call Sarah back. And sure enough, I was literally sitting at my desk one day, and salespeople, we don't sit at our desk a lot. I was sitting at my desk and I get a phone call, and it's him. And he's like, Sarah, it's so-and-so from company X. And I was like, no way. Did my brother see you in the bathroom? And he's like, well, as a matter of fact, he did. And I was like, sweet. So finally we met. They became Chamber members. They've sent several of their employees through Leadership Boise. I have since left the chamber. It's been 3 years and they're still chamber members. I knew they would see the value. I just had to have that discipline to see it to the end. And that's what I'm saying, you guys. If we work that formula with the urgency and discipline, that is when things are going to happen. 99% of sales slumps can be linked directly to a failure to prospect. Okay. So if we're being honest with ourselves and we're looking at our business for the year and it's down, we can say, where did I forget to prospect? Okay. Where did I forget to prospect? And this book is, I don't know if you can see it, Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt. This is where this quote came from. And so you guys get this book. It changed my idea of my funnel and how to work my funnel. One of the ways it did that was, it's called the law of replacement. And this was probably the idea that I took from that book that changed my thinking the most. And it says, okay, if we have a 20% closing ratio, that means out of 10 people we talk to, 2 are saying yes. Then when those 2 people say yes, we replace those with 10 more people into our funnel. Whereas we would think, oh, I'm just going to replace them with the 2 people that I sold to. I'm going to replace them with 2. Well, no, he says the law of replacement is that you sell your 2 and you replace that with 10. So that's just a little nugget that I took from there. So you're working your formula with urgency and discipline. Guess what? That's going to give you growth. You're going to see the growth that you want. You are going to see the excellence that you want. And this, my friend, is where we fudge through. We work our formula with urgency and discipline, and we get the growth and excellence. Okay, so we are coming up on a new year, and what a better time to figure out our formula and then fudge through, right? I'm going to tell you, sometimes all you have to do is show up. Okay, I'm going to tell you a couple stories. You guys remember we had Snowmageddon, I think it was 2017, and my husband's a realtor. And my husband was trying to drive his Prius, and he's a realtor, so he had to have a gas-friendly car. He was trying to drive his Prius up our hill during Snowmageddon, and it wouldn't make it. And it was the day before Christmas Eve. And so he had to leave his car down at the bottom of the hill. And he's like, okay, I'm done with this Prius. I am going to go into the dealership, the closest dealership to our house tomorrow morning on Christmas Eve, and I'm going to see if they have a Subaru. So he literally went into Fairly Reliable Bob's, because that's the closest dealership to our house, and the guy was asleep. The sales guy was asleep on the desk because it's Christmas Eve and there's 2 feet of snow, and who's going to buy a car today, right? All the cars are covered in snow. So anyway, I was out shoveling snow, and he's like, he goes in and he's like, do you have a Subaru? And if you do, and it makes it up to my house, then I'm going to buy it today. So sure enough, the guy wakes up, he goes and, shovels some snow off the Subaru, and I'm outside shoveling snow, and I see beep, 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 I see him coming up our driveway, and I was like, yes, all right, that can make it up. And so he bought the Subaru that day. So all that guy had to do, the sales guy, all he had to do was show up. He's put in the work, and he showed up that day, and he made a sale. Okay. And then another story that came from that same time, Snowmageddon, my husband had scheduled an open house for a house on the Bench in Boise. And if you don't know where the Bench is, it's a pretty desirable neighborhood. And he had said, I'm going to do this open house. He put it out on, the stuff, and then all the snow came. And he's like, you know what, I'm still going to do the open house. And I was like, I can't believe it. I am in Fred Meyer and there's no water, and you're going to do an open house? And literally there was no water on the shelves and people were freaking out. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And so he shoveled the snow to get himself into that house, and he sat the open house. And there was this woman that came in, and she said, look, I need to sell my house and I need to buy a house on the Bench. And sure enough, he sold her house for her. He helped her buy another house. And it's all because he showed up that day, on a day where most people would not have showed up. but he was working his formula with the urgency and discipline, and he gets that growth and excellence. So sometimes the world just has us, rewards us for just showing up. So this is kind of the conclusion of the formal piece of finding our formula. And I love to leave a lot of time for questions. And so hopefully we have some time. I think we do, Ryan, right? And I'm happy to answer any questions. Now, if you don't want to ask questions and you just want to tell me stories, I love that, because I love funny stories. The name of my company is Business and Belly Laughs, and I like to tell funny stories about what happens in business. So if there aren't any questions, because this is, like I said, Sales 101, then we won't do the questions, we'll just do funny stories. And then while we're in the questions section, I will post in the chat, and I do have a free download for the calculator, and it comes with a PDF on how to use that and how to calculate your numbers to put into the F word calculator. There's also you can opt into a 5-day challenge, which has a lot of the same information that we just went through. But if you want to kind of get and have a little more time to work through it, then you can do the F word challenge. If not, just take the free F word calculator, the free website, and work through your formula. Okay. So I'll be posting those into the chat, and then we can just have a little fireside chat.
Let's do it. So
Yeah.
Sarah, I have a question for you, right?
Okay.
I've spent a lot of time in sales. Oftentimes, and Dan Levitt and I were having a conversation yesterday where we were talking specifically about creating success in sales through building strong relationships. I recognize that to some extent it's a numbers game of, hey, we really need to get these numbers in to meet these goals and objectives. How do you balance the dynamic of aggressive sales with that strong relationship so that it becomes more than just a one-off sale, but it becomes more of a relational situation where there's repeat customers that come back over and over to do business with you? Share with us your thoughts on
this question. I love this question because, okay, so I'm in a relationship sales situation as it is right now. My business is to take realtors and lenders out and entertain them and then ask for their business. And so I feel like every single thing we do, yes, we have to have our numbers going on, but the relationship is number one. Okay. And that was how I was trying to get in with, a lot of these people that I've told stories about. It's from their relationship with other people. And so when we leverage those relationships, it makes the sale even more solid. Okay. Because cold calling is, for people that we don't have relationships with, but warm leads are the most fun. And that usually means that they have a relationship with someone else that we know. And if we're not, just totally capitalizing on our relationships, but also the relationships of everyone we're connected to, then we're not maximizing our sales potential. When it comes down to it, there's still the numbers behind it. And so if we don't have relationships with, 40 people that we're working through our system, then we have to go out and we have to make those relationships. And, I have found that networking and groups like this and everything usually does a huge amount of my business in the middle. So I always have my top 20 people that I'm calling on, like cold calling that I don't know. And then I get about, the 75% of my middle, business comes from people that I'm networking with, and, whether it's a chamber event, whether it's, a real estate mixer, whether it's, reaching out to people on LinkedIn that my friends know or that my colleagues know. And so I hope that answers your question. Yes, relationships are the most important piece of all of this. And in order to make new relationships, and in order to make our numbers, we have to make new relationships.
Yeah, great response. Anybody else?
I do. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Sarah. Thanks so much for taking the time to present your formula to us today. My question is, when you're talking about, starting those cold relationships, in my experience, I found that, the essential key in that is how quickly we're able to build and establish trust. And so I'm just curious I'd love to hear like some of your experience and where you really found what it was that you did helped you build that trust very quickly.
I love this question too. I have on my resume quickly building rapport with prospects as one of my skills. And for me, it's humor usually. And it's humor and empathy. And so when, I'm always trying to make people laugh, and then that kind of opens up more conversation. And then if I'm being really real with them, then that usually makes them trust me, like even after day one, because A, I made them laugh, and B, I told them something about myself that normally doesn't happen on a first conversation. And so a lot of people ask what do you do for work? Those kinds of questions in networking. And I try to stay away from those. I try to talk about, family, and I try to talk about what we do, like skiing or something like that, to kind of open up some other dialogues with people. And then I try to make it funny, because I believe, and you can think about this too. Think about the three people that you like to spend most of your time with. And if that's your significant other, awesome. But I bet you that at least two of them make you laugh. And one of them probably inspires you. So if you can be real with people, you are going to get that trust a lot quicker than if you're in just a networking situation and acting like the rest of the peers in the networking situation. So for me, it's humor. I hope that answers your question, but also humor and stories about myself that may not be typical in a networking scenario. And we all have those stories, and then we can ask them about their stories too. And so then they feel comfortable telling us a story about themselves that maybe they wouldn't share with anyone else on a first time meeting, because we shared. So I hope that helps.
Thanks. I mean, that does, I appreciate the insight. And it led me to another question. So for a not naturally funny person, how do we become that funny person? Like, how do I figure out how to bring humor in when that's just not my nature?
Yeah. And I always tell people to don't try to be funny just to break the ice either. I mean, but usually there can be something funny that you've seen and be like, hey, did you see this? Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I always tell stories about like stupid things me and my brother get into, in sales, and it really breaks the ice. But if funny is not the way to break the ice, then authenticity, and that is such a buzzword right now, but it's so true. Like being authentically yourself. If you're not really into being funny, then don't try to be funny, because then people will definitely see that that's not authentic. But having something to break the ice, aside from what do you do for work, is super important. And obviously staying away from politics and religion and all that stuff. But people love to talk about their children and their interests. So I love to talk about flying and skiing and mountain biking. And so if you can find what those things are that your people that you're trying to talk to like to talk about, I find that is much more successful than going to business right away.
Yeah, I think Dan, Sarah, if it's okay, I think Dan had something he wanted to add as well as Adam. Dan, go ahead.
Oh, so, just from my perspective to answer that question, I think there's a couple of things that come to mind. I mean, I could go on and on and on for hours, as I think Ryan could attest to. But one thing that I would share is it's okay to be vulnerable. Okay, don't feel like you have to show up and know everything. Okay, because when you're vulnerable, it just shows you're like them. Nobody likes somebody that shows up and knows everything about their company and their products, and they tell you it. They just show up and talk, okay? It's okay to be vulnerable. I'll say, Sarah, I might not have all the answers, and if I don't, I'll write down your question and I'll get back to you. It's not fair if I guess. Would that be okay? Okay, that alleviates all of the pressure that you have to know every little thing that they could ask you. Okay, so vulnerability is okay. Okay, in fact, vulnerability is, sometimes I do it intentionally. I'll say, Cal, did you say A, B, and C? Did I get that right? Is there anything else you want to add? Okay, and what does that vulnerability show? It shows that I listen to the person.
Yeah.
I'm listening. It's all about them, not me. Okay, and so vulnerability is one. The other one is, we teach in a methodology that's been around a long time, and it's right away, I'm going to do what's called a pattern interrupt. I'm going to say something that it might sound like it's not in my best interest. Okay, and I'll give you an example. At the beginning of a meeting, a minute and a half through, I'm going to say, and I can't see your first name, but I can see that you're Miss Fleming. Is that right? What's your first?
Yeah, Holly's her first name.
Holly, great. So Holly, we might find out that I'm not the best resource, and if I kind of feel like I'm not good for what you're looking for, I'm going to share that with you. I hope it's okay. And likewise, Holly, I want you to do the same with me. If what I talk about in my world that we offer isn't a good fit for you, I want you to feel totally comfortable telling me no. Can you tell me no, Holly?
Holly can tell everybody no.
Because that's really important to me. Okay. And so that's a pattern interrupt, and it sounds like it's not in our best interest.
Yeah.
When in fact it really is, because no's are okay in sales. No's mean you don't have to chase somebody for 3 months and then have them tell you no.
Well, what's fascinating about that concept, Dan, is sometimes the takeaway really does create that pattern interrupt. Like, this may not be for you, and that's perfectly okay.
Totally.
Right. So Adam, I think you had something you want to jump in and chime in on as well.
Yeah, I think one thing to keep in context, some people's sales cycles are real short, and people are really short. You just turn. And that's not to say you should not care about people, but like I'm an accountant. My customers come back every single year. So my sales cycle can be long, but that relationship is long. Like I have people for a lifetime sometimes. And so I probably need to approach it a little differently than some people do. But back to if you're not humorous, it's already been said, but you just got to be you. And I think being gracious, being kind, like those things go a really long way. Because ultimately being humorous or whatever it might be, we're just trying to create a connection with that person, right? So, finding out what they like and talking about that. And then making sure that you navigate that to something more meaningful or something more impactful. And, if you've read what is it? Never Split the Difference. Getting someone to say no is really important because they feel like they're in control. And you want them to feel like they're in control when you're trying to negotiate in a sales pitch. And so, yeah, I do that all the time, and it's important to me because of my long-term sales cycle and conversion, that not only am I a good fit for them, but they're a good fit for me. And so sometimes I'll tell those people no, because I could fill up, I can have a lot of clients, but then I don't get the service people that I'm really good at servicing. And so the people that can be serviced by anybody. So anyways, those are just a couple of my
Yeah, what's beautiful about, Sarah, what you're saying and all the comments that have been had, right? I believe that authenticity is almost a new form of currency. But I think in the world of sales, one of the biggest complexities that most people have is they don't know their numbers. And so I love this simplified formula of, knowing who your active opportunities are each month, understanding what the average deal value is, understanding what your closing ratio is. And I think what Dan talked about, what Adam shared, and what you're sharing as well is an opportunity to increase that closing ratio by building that authentic relationship. So we may start as a 5% closing ratio because it was numbers. But then as we start building those relationships, we're like, wow, I don't have to reach out to as many people because my closing ratio is better, which brings more value to me as an organization, and also brings longevity and referrals and so on and so forth. So Sophia, to your, to the question that you asked, a beautiful question. The reality is that trust is built through authenticity. It's through vulnerability, but it's like Sarah said as well in the presentation, it's about showing up. Just be there, because people have to trust that you're going to be there when they need you to be there. And if you're not going to be there, I've watched an organization over the last few years kind of diminish because there wasn't qualified leadership in place. And as a byproduct of that, it's kind of just teetered. People haven't shown up to paint that picture and paint that vision. So, in terms of the head of enablement, Sophia, your position, sometimes even in departmentally, you have to know those numbers, but also find ways to integrate and interweave that vulnerability, not only for you personally, but team members, and that will build that strength of trust and that strength of relationship. So what a great presentation, Sarah. I love it. I love the fudge. So let's recap really quick, and then we'll close out today because I know we're getting close on time. Fudge: formula, urgency, discipline, growth, and excellence. F-bombs. Closing thoughts, Sarah. Hit us with them.
Well, yeah, let's fudge through together. So I put my LinkedIn in there, and I love it when I hear people that say, hey, I figured out my formula and now I've been working it, and here's how I grew. So this is like what I live for, is to grow alongside people, fudge through together. And this group, you guys fudge through together. One of my last closing thoughts, I love baseball. And so I see Dan has a baseball bat in the back of his picture, and I want to know about that baseball bat.
I think I'm going to move it because Ryan asked me about that yesterday.
I love it.
So I work with a company called Sandler, and when you achieve certain levels, you get different things, and that's a baseball bat.
Oh, yeah, I love Sandler training. Yeah. Awesome. Do you like baseball?
I like all sports.
Yeah.
I like
Who doesn't love baseball, Sarah? Come on. If you don't love baseball,
yeah,
I'm going to tell you right now, we can't be friends. I'm just kidding. My Braves
knew I was going to love you.
By the way. Anyway, listen, Sarah, it's so good having you with us. Thank you, everyone, for spending a few minutes of your time. We do these every fourth Wednesday of the month. Come back and join us. You'll be on our email list. You'll hear from us. But once you hear from us, come hang out with us. We'd love to spend a little bit of time with you guys, learning, growing, expanding. And again, RizeX, the organization in and of itself, is to help people create meaningful impact on people, organizations, and communities. And just like I was talking with Sarah and with Dan in the past few days, few weeks, social equity is such a powerful component of really building a powerful profession, a powerful career. And this, even though it's virtual, I know everybody doesn't love virtual, but this is a powerful community of people that we can learn from and grow from. So make sure, if you want to connect with those of us that are on the presentation, even those that are registered, send me a quick email, Ryan, my first name, at RizeX, RizeX.io. I'll send you the email list of the people that registered, so you can get in touch with them, have conversations with them, expand your network. Most of them come through LinkedIn, so you can find them on LinkedIn. And hit me up on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you. Talk a little bit more one-on-one with what our RizeX organization is, where we're going, what we're doing. We're in the process of doing some rebranding in the near future. We have some super cool things that we would love for you guys to be a part of as we move forward, as we continue to create these awesome experiences for you, so that you can make those connections necessary to drive additional opportunities for relationships and revenue. So bye for now, my friends, and we'll see you very soon.